Hi, welcome to the channel where we provide an alternative view to the common narrative. Today's topic, I'm going to talk a little bit about wokeness, cancel culture, and all the modern phenomena that we are actually experiencing and what we have been criticizing now for some time. If you want to listen more, please continue watching and hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to say. Welcome back. As I said in the introduction, today we're going to talk about wokeness and cancel culture and the stuff that goes with it. I've once, I can't remember now, a couple of weeks back and so on, I saw, I think it was in Crosstalk or maybe even Underground, we talked about the whole matter about cancel culture. And for some other reason, we are considering it as a new phenomena, and that cancel culture is so bad, and that's basically breaks down society. And well, most of us are against it. But if you really look back on what is cancel culture, then this is not this is not a new phenomenon. It's actually a very old principle that we have had in our society. It's just that it wasn't that prominent. In the old days, you had critics. Now, these people were usually professional critics, and the most prominent one was usually the food critic. But you had it in the movies, you had it into fashion, and you had it in art, and basically you had it all over. But at that stage, we still had the written news, and television was available, but programs in the television were not concentrated on critics that much. So the influence that critics had was usually in the newspaper, in columns that they wrote, and people could actually read it if they wanted. And not a lot of people did read it. So the influence of critics was fairly low. In my opinion, most of the critics were in any case people that were insecure and, in my opinion, had some psychological problems and actually wanted to badmouth other people who were successful, who were better than them, in order to protect or to validate their own insecurities and their lack of achievements. Well, basically, that is what a critic is, in my opinion. It's not that there are fashion gurus or there are food gurus or chefs and so on. Usually, they are not even chefs. They can't even make their own food. And I always said, go do it. If you want to be a critic, go do it yourself and show me you are better than the person you are criticizing and bad-mouthing. But that is all what lacked. The point here is that was the old days where the influence or the effect of critics were not that big. Yes, it was sometimes in the movie industry and the art industry where you had the Grammys and the Emmys and etc. All these other shows and awards and so on. But it was still limited. Unfortunately, with the advent of the internet, communication became a lot more available, and with the cell phone and social media, there was an explosion in terms of critics. Everybody could now become a critic and criticize other people, especially people that try to achieve something. And the the critic itself was not capable of doing it, and it was feeding its own insecurity on the success of other people. And what you didn't have to acknowledge yourself. You could hide behind a keyboard and a screen and you can state your opinion on anything which you disagreed with. And most of the, if you refer back to a lot of comments that I've read about certain articles, especially over the years, I'll read these comments, and you realize that most of these people have no clue what they are talking about. They have the weirdest type of arguments, and if they don't agree with your argument, then they personally bash you. And that is typical of the capability of the modern so-called critic. He has no real skill. He has basically achieved very little. And he preys on the success of other people. And it's a typical like a bully. And because we have this media which is widely distributed and easy accessible, everybody is a critic and everybody is a bully that feels some form of insecurity. And everybody of these bullies can hide behind a screen. And therefore, we have all this negative views in the world, and we can criticize people and destroy people because we are in the social media where everything is connected. 2 or 3 people can have a devastating effect on anybody else because they can spread the word via the social media and present a narrative that is false and usually biased, and then leads to the, call it, destruction of the target person. So we have a lot of power in the hands of minions. But this is unfortunately only half of the story. The other side of the story is that, which is a little bit more important, is that some of us have basically, well, I wouldn't say some of us, most of us, and so on, we have a presence on the internet. It is either in the form of YouTube videos, LinkedIn profiles, TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, all this other stuff. We have presence on that. And basically, we are trying to prevent a certain content, as you would say. So you deliver your medium. Now, in the old days, this was not possible for you. But since we have the internet, and since we can make available our opinions and our contents on a mass scale to the world, with the social media and the tools, modern tools that we have, basically we have become a TV show or a newspaper magazine or some other form of publication similar to that, which was previously only limited to print magazines or to television. So the thing you are watching now is actually an episode on a so-called television program. It's like you want to say a travel program or engineering program, like, or a history program that you saw on Discovery and so on. Well, now you can see it and watch it on the internet. So if I want to promote art or promote music and so on, I put it on the internet and I have a channel and I have a program on the so-called television. Now you can market yourself or whatever you want to do it, but the point here is that people have to look at your, call it show. So you have to go find certain viewers. And then they will come and watch your YouTube video or listen to your podcast or watch your TikTok or whatever you want to do it. But you have to have customers. Now, if your customers don't like what you say, then they're going to stop watching what you have been producing. And they're going to look for another person and look another channel and another video that they would actually like. And if they never come back to your channel or your product, if you want to call it like that, then they effectively have cancelled you. And this is what we call cancel culture. But it's not that the cancel culture means that we want to wipe you off from society. No, it actually means that we do not agree with what you are saying and we are not satisfied with the product that you are presenting. So let's take the typical, say, CNN news. We all know CNN provides fake news and lies and so on. And they had 2 million viewers per day. They now down to 350,000. While CNN was cancelled. Why? Because it didn't provide a product that the viewers wanted to see. And therefore they moved on. Naturally, the usual sense is that these viewers moved on because they realized what they were seeing or getting wasn't worth their time. But it could also be is that somebody else badmouthed them, a CNN, and spread their bully negative criticism over CNN, and basically then the viewers believed. So the battle is actually between the critics and the person that provides the content, the CNN, in order to retain their viewership. So there's nothing really wrong with cancel culture. And if you want to be woke, then the woke is that you provide the service and content that the viewers want to see. Whether it's true to your nature, that's totally something different. So another word for wokeness is that I like what you are doing. I like what you are saying. I agree with what you are saying. And the alternative to the word cancel means I don't like what you are saying. And I'm going to leave, I'm going to find another product and spend my time on that. I don't agree with you. That's it. So we make a big hoo-ha about wokeness and cancel culture and etc., and we consider that as swear words and breakdown of our culture. But no, it has always been there. It just hasn't been that prominent, and not everybody is doing it, and we are now being flooded. And that is the floodedness that is actually the problem. Everybody is a critic. And if I don't like you, I can badmouth you, and then I can get my followers to go and do it. But if I talk nonsense, then my followers will not react to my cancel type of culture against your video. Depends on my followers. But if the followers do not agree with what you're saying and they listen to me, then you have been cancelled. You are not providing the service that you are supposed to be providing. You are not keeping your customers. And then we have the same thing problem with companies. To say CNN sells advertisement. Now, CNN gets a bad rap because they don't produce the contents they should be doing. Then the advertiser is going to ask himself, but what value do I get from my money? You first had 2 million viewers, now you only have 350,000. So either your advertisement becomes cheaper, or I'm going to find another news agency to advertisement. And the same goes for sport equipment. So if you're a badmouth by sport, you did something wrong, then naturally your sponsors will move on because they don't want to be associated with that. If the sponsors disagree with the critics, then they will nail that critic and they will support you. You understand the principle here? Wokeness, cancel culture is a natural thing. It's just a different wording for the same thing that previously happened. So say you were a straight guy 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, where gayness wasn't that prominent. And Rob Hudson, he was a lover boy. Women flocked to see his movies, say. And they could associate it when they want to movie him. When it turns out he's gay, say, then the woman will realize, but no, it destroys this whole image of love and beauty and so on. And then people will withdraw the advertisements from that. That's natural, and you can't really blame them. And we now have seen this hideous face of Madonna. Sorry, I can't give any other description. I don't know what she has done, but she stuffed up her face. She was actually a very beautiful woman, getting old beautifully. And now she has, you know, when I watched it, it looks like she wants to become a teenager in a school dress, that type of thing. A rebel school dress lady. But in any case, she did this to get attention. She did that because, you know, the reaction from people. And now the people have given her a reaction, and they don't agree with what she has done. And now she blames the world that the world is, what is it? Misogyny. You know, expression of the English is difficult for me. Misogyny. And what's it? Maleness. Yeah. And we are, this is her strength and the endurance and her stamina and so on. We are criticizing and we are jealous of that. No. We don't like the product that she's presenting. It's a painting that doesn't look beautiful. So your painting is crap. And therefore we criticize the crap painting. And unfortunately, the painting is your face. And don't blame us if we present you with the critics. And we're not going to watch this, and we're going to find another source of which we like. So we're going to cancel you. No, we're not going to cancel you. We're going to effectively cancel. We're not going to watch you because we're not interested. You wanted the reaction, and you did the reaction. When you got it, then you started to criticize us. And trying to be woke. It's the same what about gayness and gender identity and all this other stuff. 100 years back, 200 years back, there were gays and transvestites and lesbians and so on, and it was totally natural. In fact, as far as I remember, Alexander the Great had a lover, a male lover, which he took on his so that type of modern perverse sex and so on was actually very common in the old days. So it's nothing funny about that. But it's now woke to be gay or transgender or to be have different identities, gender identities. It's wokeness. There is no reason for this. But it's presented as something to show your friends and so on in order to, it's a product that you are representing in order to get recognition and so-called respect, which you don't get, by the way. And all the good critics because you're now suddenly gay, or today I'm a girl and tomorrow I'm a dog and all this other bullshit that goes with it. But it's fine. It's a product that you are presenting. And if people like it, then they will support you. And if they don't like it, then they will disassociate with you and move on and find a product that they want. Like I said, there are genuine people that are gay and sexual problems. I'm not talking about this. But 90% of the people of today is so-called gay and transgender and so on. That is woke. Because it's the in thing. It's the popular thing. It's like in the old days you had the Renaissance type of art. And then you had the more modern art. Where you had straight lines and geometric lines and so on. And then you had the idiotic type of art where the guys will just throw paint against the wall and they'll jump on it and then suddenly a picture emerges. You know, when we have the psychologist, you take this piece of paper, you put ink there and you fold it and you open it up and the guy says, "What do you see?" Well, how many art pieces have that's been created? But it was a fad. It was modern. It was, you know. Oh, actually, once now, I want to actually make a point here, but which is maybe not relevant. In my age, we grew up with metal music, and then alternative rock, and we had some popular music and so on. But my parents grew up with the Beatles and Elvis Presley, and the people before that like opera and classical music. And today we have screamo and R&B, and I don't even know all the names you get. And the funny thing about this is that I like alternative rock, I like metal, I like, I like actually a lot of things. I like reggae, and I like some of the R&B, blues and so on. Whatever. As long as the song is nice. And I even like classical music. But I was looking for a song, I can't remember. Pavarotti sang it at one of the Olympics. Usually that's a song when you play in a movie like The Godfather, when you see this family party and so on, but in the meantime all the opposition is being killed, and they sing this song. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And I was looking on YouTube, and then I listened to Pavarotti and a couple of other guys. And at the end of the day is that they all sang the same. Yes, they sound a little bit different, but if you know a little bit about classical music, it comes out of the throat. You sing here. You don't sing with your voice that you are now singing. You know, oh, and all that these guys are doing is they are varying the tone a little bit, high in pitches like a flute or a violin or whatever. And that is supposed to sound very beautiful and a big artist and so on. Yes, it's difficult, takes a lot of work and so on, but it's supposed to sound beautiful. And it's something unique. But if you listen really careful, they're all the same. Just apply a different technique. So if you take Ozzy Osbourne and he shouts in that microphone, or just I saw something about Slade and so on. I mean, it's not beautiful sound in terms of voice and so on, but the sound together with the instruments just fits perfectly. Or you can take Evanescence, or you can even take Nightwish, which is more classical. They're not. They have beautiful songs and sound, voices and so on. But classical music works for certain people the way that you grow up. The same with me. If I hear certain lead guitarists and alternative rock and so on, I feel very good. And if my son or daughter listen to the screamos and so on, and they feel very good. But they won't feel good when they listen to my stuff. So it's a question of being perception. What was the flavor of the day where you grew up? What made an impression on what it was? And that's the same thing that's happening today. Instant gratification. You know, it's like you watch a video. No, you don't like it, next video. No, you don't like it, next video. Take the TV, one channel, no, you don't like the channel, no, next channel. And you got 500 channels, and that is what cancel culture means. You have to compete against a hell of a lot of people because the internet and social media and equipment has provided us with the tools that a lot more people can provide content, whatever form the content is. And if you have a perceived perception of being cancelled, if people don't watch you, no, you're just not entertaining the masses. So it's a natural thing, but it's given a very bad name. And one has to look at it from an alternative point of view, and that is what we're trying to do. So next time we talk about cancel culture, just properly define it and see it for what it is. Some of them are vindictive, like in the old critics that were writing in the columns, newspaper columns, those idiots. Some of the people will be valid because you produce junk. And some of them will be because the people have an ulterior motive or they have an inferior complex and they are jealous in that respect. Cancel culture and these things are just normal unless they are vindictive. In any case, that is my side of the story. This is how I see it. Hopefully it made some sense with you. Give you some food for thought. If you like what you heard, subscribe, tell your friends, let's grow the channel. Press the notification bell. And until next time, cheers.